The headlines on the paper today, who are they trying to fool? The policemen and the sheriffs think they're getting away, 'cause they made the rules. You're not gonna pull over my eyes. You're not gonna pull over my eyes. Lifting the veil.
Do you think you've been told the truth about the world in which you live in?
In what sense? Told by who?
Whoever, whether it's the media, the government.
No.
No.
Not the whole truth.
I would say it's hidden somewhere, or we have to find out for ourselves, because I think no one will tell us really the truth. And yesterday, it's funny, because yesterday we were walking in Hollywood Park, and he was saying, you can say it.
I think no one tells us the truth, because there's no truth. But we were walking on Hollywood Park, and I got the sense that I think everyone gets the sense when they're in nature that they get closer to some truth. That
almost as if the truth was hiding in those.
Almost spiritual.
Yeah.
Kind of, yes.
But we also, I think we're very academic in the sense that and since we're so young too, we are still fascinated with the knowledge we can get from books and from teachers, and going to school is still very important for us for learning, and only when we learn so much can we figure out for ourselves what's the truth. But I feel like I'm in a transition state, maybe, because I feel like maybe the truth is not all in school, and I need to find out where it is really, and I think I'm in that process right now.
Do you think your thoughts are your own?
Sorry?
Do you think your thoughts that you think they're your own thoughts?
Some part of them are, but I don't think that's possible for anyone to have their own thoughts. Completely their own thoughts.
Yeah, because just the fact that we live in Portugal and not in Edinburgh, in Lisbon and not in Edinburgh, I think we think differently. We speak a different language that determines how you think, I think.
Yeah.
And here is the weather is more rainy and dark.
Is it? No.
Yeah.
Not today.
Not today. Today's a lovely day. But I think little things like that change your perspective. But in the sense of, do I think independently of anything that I've received since I was born? I don't think so, no.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think, for example, yesterday I was right here in this, how do you call this?
This bench?
Yeah, this bench, right?
Exactly, this bench.
And I was eating some McDonald's, and I was looking at him, and I was like, I was so happy. I started crying because it's been a really nice trip, and I was like, that was so me, because that wasn't anything that I was told, and that was not someone that told me, yeah, this is happiness. It was just something that I felt really in my heart. I'm so happy to be here with you in Edinburgh, and that felt really real. So that's funny you ask that.
But let me just say one thing. I think that idea that our thoughts are not our own, completely our own, is not necessarily bad. I think that's that can be viewed as a way to understand other people. To be other people is to understand other people in some way.
Would you say then it could be true that all thought is conditioned?
Yeah.
Influence?
Not all thought.
Yeah.
Like pure thoughts may not be conditioned.
Can you have an original thought, do you think?
That's an old philosophical question.
Not in my 20s, no. I think not.
No.
But it might be possible, because when you think of the men and the women that have discovered some things in the past, like in the 15th century. How did they get to that? How did they, for example, the stars, how did they look at the sky and think that it's much bigger than we, because now we know it's bigger because we have science and we are taught that since a very young age, but at that time, how did they even come up with that? So maybe...
But there's always some inspiration and some person that discover or that scientists aspires to be, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
There's always a father to the son.
Do you think you've been told the truth from science?
In a physical and palpable way, yes, I think.
Yeah, maybe, but there's always interests behind things. Because, for example, we think we know the world because we now have internet and we live in a globalized world, but we know it's the way media tells us and the way we see on TV and the internet, and that's something, always someone constructing that. There's always someone telling a story.
Because we live in a world of propaganda, lies, deceit, media bias, so how do we know what's true and what's not true?
I don't know.
Only by searching for the truth and question what are the interests. Yesterday we ate McDonald's because when we got here we got a metro newspaper from the bus, those free newspapers, and there was a discount coupon.
Oh, right.
And that's a way of propaganda, and we only ate at McDonald's because it was cheaper.
It's interesting. Do you ever ask why those papers are free?
Free? Those papers are free.
Why do you think they give us free newspapers?
Yeah, I don't know the context of that newspaper.
Because then our choices are limited. We choose that paper because we don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
So we choose those news.
Yeah.
But in a sense, we're always choosing which news we want to hear about.
But they were all shit news.
well, if it's free, they're obviously pushing that because you're not even having to pay for it.
Yeah.
So they're going to print anything they want in there because you're going to read it because you're not buying it. So everybody's going to pick it up and read it.
Yeah.
So are you students?
Yes.
What are you studying?
I'm studying art history and curatorial studies, I think I would say.
And I study literature.
Oh, excellent. With history, do you think you've been told the truth about history?
Oh no, definitely not.
Oh wow, that's great that you said that from somebody who's actually studying it. Because I think our famous quote is the winners write the history books.
Sorry?
The winners write the history books.
Yes, the winners, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yes.
Now, how open do you think you both are to listen to something which goes against what you actually think?
I'm ready.
I don't think I'm absolutely open, but I always try to not reject what people say, even if it's. I think it's very conservative because I like to think I'm not very conservative, but even if it is, I think we always have to listen to what people have to say, because then we're closing ourselves. The more we reject,
Debate is
absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So I'm just going to test to see how conservative you really are.
Okay, yeah, let's go.
What shape do you think the Earth is?
I would say round.
Round like a coin or round like a ball?
Like a ball.
Well, and yourself?
The same.
Can I ask you both why you think that?
Because science tells us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's the theory.
Because when we see pictures,
that we think is proven.
When we see pictures from a satellite, that's what it seems.
So would you say it's a belief rather than scientific reality?
It's a strong belief in scientific reality.
well put.
Yeah.
What if I told you that there are no satellites up there?
Well,
what would you think?
I've never seen one in person or in satellites.
You've never seen one. Neither have I.
Yeah, that's true.
Have you seen a satellite?
No.
No. So it's a belief then.
But it's a pretty confident belief, I think.
Yeah, I'll give you a lot of money if you're able to go and find video evidence of the satellite in space.
Yeah, but what video evidence would that be? How would you
Well, it would be
record that?
undeniable evidence that it's real. Like, it's all CGI footage you'll see of satellites in space. It's just obvious CGI. I mean, nobody could actually argue with it because it's really bad cartoons. But I will put it to you, you won't find any real footage from a satellite in space. And I'd pay a lot of money if you do find one.
Yeah, but I would rather just go myself and then be up there and then look for them. That would be the only way maybe I would be certainly sure that there was... And maybe then it could be like a doll and not a real satellite that's working.
I think it's a question of trust.
Yeah.
And to confirm down here that like we have satellite television. I don't know what you have to say about that. But
well, over 95% of communication is undersea cables.
Yes, that's
95%. And also up there they may have high altitude balloons, drones. Well, they do have them that can go for months through solar power, and have high altitude planes. So even if signal is coming from above, we can't prove that's coming from a satellite.
Okay.
And we've got no real footage of a satellite in space. So all I'm doing is asking for evidence, which they can't produce.
Yeah.
And also, you won't find any rocket in space either. There's no footage of a rocket go through space. Because
I can't argue with you because I don't have the
and I don't expect you to believe me, but you can go and research this afterwards.
Yeah.
And if you watch rockets taking off, they just go in a curve and they come back down again.
Okay.
But as soon as they go to space, you see a cartoon rocket. We have no real footage.
I never thought about that.
So I'm putting to you that we don't live on a spinning ball. It's a lie. It's been told to us when we were 5 years old or something, before your critical thinking was developed. So you accept that question. You may have a couple of questions. How do we live in a ball? Or gravity? Okay. So we just accept that and believe that. And we never question it again. But this is probably the biggest thing on the internet right now. It's a huge movement. Millions of people showing you evidence of why it's not a spinning ball. And self-evident proofs. Like, do you ever see a ship on the horizon thinking it goes over the curvature?
Yeah,
over the excuse me?
Do you ever see a ship on the horizon thinking it's going over the curvature?
Yeah, I think I can see the curvature.
Yeah, well, if you use a telescope or a zoom camera, you'll see the bottom of that ship again.
Yes.
Proving it's not going over any curvature. And even if it was going over a curvature, you should see that curvature to your right, to your left, and behind you if you're on a ball, wouldn't you? The physics of a ball slopes equally in every direction, so it shouldn't be just out in front of you. It should be to your right, to your left, behind you. So that proves that we're not on a ball, like we're told. And they tell us Earth is made up of over 70% water, and water always finds its own level. So 70% of Earth is flat water. And how could that be on a ball?
Yeah, but gravity answers that, I think.
Yeah, and I don't mean to be confrontational with you, but I'd ask you, can you evidence gravity? Can you show me it exists?
Well,
how do you know it's gravity and not density?
Well, I can argue with you. That's
because before the theory of gravity came into being, density explained how something fell due to the molecules of that book being heavier than the molecules of the atmosphere. So it drops. But there's no evidence that there's a magical force pulling that book downwards. That can't be proven. And that's why it's called the theory of gravity, because it's never been proven.
Okay. Yeah. I don't have the tools to refute that.
Yeah. And I realise that you didn't know what I was going to be talking about here, but it's just to question people on the street to see why they believe they live in a magical spinning ball. Yeah. And when it all boils down to it, it's the fact it's their belief, because they don't have any direct evidence for themselves. It's just secondary information, and which we accept totally, but we've no evidence of it.
Yeah. But again, I think the only way to know for sure, and even that is uncertain, is to see for ourselves. And you know, if there's a movement and there are millions of people, they're still talking on a main platform, which is the internet, which is available for everyone, and they're still constructing information, you know. So it's still a belief, even if it's the contrary to what is the main belief.
I perhaps disagree with that, because I went to a meeting myself last week for amateur balloon going up.
Yeah.
But you can go on YouTube and you can see amateur balloons going high up into the atmosphere
Okay.
using cameras, and you can see it's all flat. The horizon's completely flat, proving that NASA is using fisheye lenses, which makes things curve. So that's contradicting what I'm being told. So I can, through natural observations, I can see that we're not on a ball. You know, the behaviour of water. It can't.
But that's a question of distance, maybe. If you this everything we see here seems flat because it's immediate. That's how I accept that.
If you go to the salt flats in America, hundreds of miles long, the flattest place on Earth is completely flat.
Yeah, but that's all your eye can see. Your human eye can see.
But we're told we should see the curvature because at 8 inches per mile squared. So we should see evidence of the curvature. Now I can see buildings 20 miles away in the distance, which I shouldn't be able to see if we're on a ball.
In that context, you have the accidents of rock formations and buildings in cities. When you are at sea, or when you're looking, when you're in a west coast of Portugal, for example, you can see. I don't know if the curvature you see is due to air pressure or, but you can see curvature because the ocean. It's
Have you
the
seen
Atlantic
curvature?
Ocean. Yes, definitely.
Can you evidence that? You've got a photograph or video evidence of it?
Not with me, but I can absolutely.
Because that's never been seen on a photograph.
No. I can see some curvature.
Do you think?
definitely.
Do you think you're socially conditioned to expect to see it?
Yeah, that's a possibility.
That would be a shame. Yeah. I like to believe that that's not what's happening.
What I've done is I've gone 10 miles out to sea on an island.
Yeah.
I've looked back at the coastline, probably looking over 30 miles in distance, and I've used a spirit level across the horizon, and it's completely flat. There's no curvature. But
In my experience,
there should be a huge drop at the ends if we're on a ball. There should be a huge drop in curvature.
no, because that's a question of distance, of size. The curvature is more constant. It's not like a small sphere. It's a big sphere for the human perceived.
Yeah, but the curvature is 8 inches per mile squared, which is huge over a few miles. So we should see obvious examples of a curvature. Have you ever seen a building leaning backwards due to the curvature?
No, because that's too close.
What, 20 miles away? That's not too close. I shouldn't be able to see the building at all at the curvature of 8 inches per mile squared.
Yeah, I don't know that much, but I think that's a question of. I think I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't argue, but
So what do you think of me suggesting to you both that perhaps you don't live on a magical spinning ball with bendy water?
I think it's definitely a possibility, but we would have to search for ourselves.
Yes.
As much as we shouldn't believe everything we see on the main media, we shouldn't believe everything you say just because you're saying it. But that's nothing against you. It's just a matter of, you have to question
It's
in order
as questioning
to get
as you
closer
question.
to.
Questioning is everything.
I encourage that.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
it's definitely a possibility. Yeah.
How old are you, if you don't mind me saying?
22.
Don't mind me asking, should I say?
Yeah.
22. I mean, you've got 22 years of indoctrination.
Yes.
So I'm coming across here in half an hour. So I'm not going to persuade you either way. But what I would do is ask you to go on the internet and look at this thing.
Yeah, I'm curious now.
It's the biggest thing on the internet. It really is, and it's going to come out because let's just say that I've seen truth, and I know it's not a ball. You can't unsee that. You can't unsee evidence that it's not a ball. I'll tell you one video to go and have a look at. Just probably the best video, because you couldn't possibly watch that and come away and think you still live in the ball. It goes through every point systematically and scientifically. It's called 200 Proofs Why the Earth is Not a Ball, a Spinning Ball. That's by Eric Dubé, but if you just put in 200 Proofs on YouTube, amazing video.
Yeah, I've never heard of that, so definitely check it out.
Thanks very much for talking to me and your time. Thank you.
Thank you.